you ready for another episode of Did I Splurge or Did I Save? This is one of my favorite things to do here on my channel. It's where I take a project and I test your knowledge to see if you can tell, did I splurge, which is $20 or over, or did I save, which is spending $20 or less. My video is sponsored by Cricut. I made this massive orchid flower arrangement. I love orchids. I love decorating with orchids. So I decided to make a giant one for my dining room table. It has a huge container with so much intricate detailing on it and a myriad of stunning orchid flowers. Okay, your turn to guess. Did I splurge or did I save? I splurged. I did, and I don't feel bad about it at all. So let me show you exactly how I made this orchid arrangement. We are going to start off with something that is so unconventional you will never guess what it is. So I will tell you. I am doing a refresh in my dining room, and I decided it was time to update the light fixture. So I got a brand new one. Here is a sneak peek. And as I took down my old light and it just was laying there on the ground, I looked at it and I thought, you know, it's got some good detailing on it. I bet you I could turn this into something. And as I was taking it apart, I was looking at all the pieces, and I thought if I took that bowl and flipped it upside down and placed it inside of the rim, I could have a beautiful container. So that's what we're going to do. The way we're going to transform it from a dark piece to a light piece is with a can of spray paint. I'm going to use a Rust-Oleum gloss spray paint. I took it outside and I sprayed the rim in 2 coats of this spray paint. I sprayed it really thoroughly to make sure that each part of the original color was covered. Then I let it dry overnight. Next, I moved on to the glass bowl portion, and I did the exact same thing. I sprayed the outside and made sure that it was completely covered, and then let it dry for several hours. Then I flipped it right side up and I sprayed the inside. Again, I made sure everything was covered, and then I let it dry overnight. Now I have my 2 pieces that fit together perfectly like a puzzle, and I have a beautiful high-end container. Today we're going to be using it as a container for our floral arrangement. To begin this floral arrangement, I got a whole bunch of floral foam. I wanted to cover the entire base of this bowl. Typically, I like to use the tape grid method, but because we're going to be sticking our orchids inside, we need that floral foam. In order to have this floral foam stay in place, I am going to hot glue the bottom of the floral foam to the container. Hot gluing these pieces in place will help it not shift when I poke the orchid stems into the floral foam. Once the floral foam was in place, I covered it completely with some moss. I used some floral pins to tack that moss to the foam and keep it in place. Now it's time to put in our stunning orchid stems. I'm going to be using 7 of them. I can use a whole bunch because of the size of this container. So I took my stems and I poked them into the foam. I spread them out equidistant from each other. Now you can tell that these orchid stems are really flimsy because they're kind of flopping everywhere. So they do need to have some stability. I'm going to add some sticks right next to my floral stem. Then I used some twine and I tethered the stick and the orchid stem together. This gives them support and helps the orchids stand upright. These orchid stems did not come with orchid leaves, so we're gonna have to use our creativity and find something similar. I have some magnolia leaves that will be a great substitute. I placed the leaves at the base of each of the orchid stem and pretty much covered the entire base of the container with these leaves. I wanted to add something a little more unique, and so I decided to add a few small little succulents. These succulents are from the Dollar Tree, and all I did was I took the succulent, pulled it out of the pot, and then added the succulent to some vacant spaces in my arrangement. The succulents add a nice contrast to the leaves and the orchid stems, and also adds to the variety of botanicals. One final step that I decided to do was I added some ribbon to the stem and the stick. I did this at Christmas time, and I loved the way that these gold ribbons looked with the long tails, and so I decided I would do that to this arrangement as well. So I just tied the ribbons into bows, and it was just what this orchid arrangement needed to give it a special touch. So we are done. That was pretty easy, right? But let me tell you, this is by far my favorite Trash to Treasure project that I have ever done. This container is so classy. It's huge, and the detail on the rim is beautiful. You would never know that in its former life, it was a dark light fixture hanging in the dining room. This orchid flower arrangement adds a modern touch to this room, a classy touch, a timeless touch that will never go out of style, which makes it perfect for any space. Now it's time to talk about how much I spent to create this orchid flower arrangement. So let's start off with how much the orchids cost. I purchased them at Michael's. They were $5.99 a stem. I used a 20% off regular purchase coupon, so it took my price to $33.60. That was by far the biggest cost of this project. The paint that I used was from Target, and it was $4.97. The mosses from the Dollar Tree, I used 2 packages, so that's $2. And just so we know, the Dollar Tree was $1 before I bought all these things. It's now $1.25, but when I bought it, it was $1. So it'll be $1. So next we got the succulents at the Dollar Tree. I used 5, so that's $5. And then we also used 2 stems of magnolia leaves. They were $4.99, and I got them at home. The things that were free to me were, of course, the container, our reimagined light fixture, the floral foam. You could see that it had holes in it. I like to reuse my floral foam, so that was at home already. I had the ribbon, I had the floral pins, and the hot glue. Oh, and the sticks. I had the sticks as well. So I'm not going to count those items in the cost of this arrangement. So the total cost is $55.55. I absolutely love this piece, and I am happy paying that price. If I were to compare this to other floral arrangements, they would be several $100s more, especially for the size of this arrangement. And this centerpiece is going to be perfect in my dining room refresh. One thing that I love, but I've never had before, are some monogrammed napkins. So I am going to make some gorgeous monogrammed napkins. I have a set of 8 yellow napkins. I love the pale yellow color, and the detail on these napkins are just stunning. I'm also going to be making 6 cardstock place cards. Do you think that I splurged on these pieces, or did I save? I saved. I will show you again how much I spent on everything after we're done making these projects. So these beautiful napkins are plain yellow. I got them at my thrift store. They've never been used before. They are a perfect blank backdrop to have a wonderful monogram on it. So in order to personalize these, we're gonna head on over to my Cricut Maker and make a monogram there. In my Cricut design space, I hit new project. I went to upload, and then I did upload image. I had mine saved in my downloads, so I just dragged and dropped it into my design space. And Then I minimized it and I hit complex image and continue. This little button gets rid of all of the background so that the only thing that will be on your space is the design. And then I hit apply and continue. If you are satisfied with the way it looks, you click on cut image and then upload. Then you select the design you just uploaded and hit add to canvas. Next, I simply sized it to the size I needed to fit on my napkin. And then I went over and I hit duplicate because I wanted 8 bees. Once I had my 8 bees, I clicked on make it. I am using a smart vinyl, so I will click on without a mat, and then I hit continue. And then on this page, I hit continue as well. Now it's time to select my material, and I am choosing a smart iron-on. So I selected that, and you always have to make sure that it is mirrored when you're doing an iron-on. So if you forget like I do, hit the edit, click on that mirror button, and now you can do more on the pressure. I am using a white smart iron-on vinyl. I loaded it into my Cricut Maker by hitting the flashing arrow button, and then I hit the flashing play button to begin the cutting process. Once it was finished, I hit the flashing arrow button, which released my vinyl, and now I have my personalized monograms. Lastly, I hit done on the computer. At this point, all I needed to do was weed away the excess vinyl from my monogram, and then I cut my 8 bees into individual pieces. I heated my Easy Press up to 330 degrees and set the timer for 30 seconds. I placed my bee decal in the corner of my napkin, and then I placed the Easy Press on top. I hit the green button, which began the countdown. When the 30 seconds was up, I removed the Easy Press, and then I peeled away the protective plastic coating. I repeated this exact process with the remaining napkins. How pretty are these napkins? They look and feel like $1,000,000. All I had to do was take them and slide them inside of a gold napkin ring and arrange them so that the bee was prominent. Then I placed them in the center of my place setting. These are gorgeous, love them. So to go along and to complement my napkins, I'm going to make some place card. I got some cardstock that matched. It had a beautiful light yellow damask print, and I'm going to use those as my base. And in order to make our place card holders, we're going to let our Cricut Maker do the hard work. In my Cricut design space, I clicked on new project, then I clicked on text. In the box, I typed in my name, and then I went to the font, and I knew the font that I wanted, so I typed it in. It came up, I selected it, and it changed my font. Next, I selected my name and went and clicked on writing. So once that was done, I clicked on the text box again, and I wrote down everybody's names, and so I had my 6 names. Next, I went over to shapes, and I selected a rectangle, and then I sized it to the size that I wanted my place card to be. I needed 6 of them, so I hit duplicate until I got 6 rectangles, and then I spaced them out so I could look at them. Next, I took my name and brought it down. Now it disappears behind. In order to change that, I went up to arrange and clicked send to front, which puts the name on the front of the card, and I did that with each of the names. Then I highlighted the name and the rectangle, and I attached everything together. Once all of the names were attached to the rectangle, I was able to go up and hit make it. My cardstock is going to be on the mat, so I selected that and hit continue. Then I hit continue again, and now it's time to select my material. I'm using a medium cardstock, and then I hit more on the pressure. I am going to take a Cricut fine point pen and open up the pen holder, place it inside, and then close the lever back up. Once I had my cardstock loaded onto my mat and my pen loaded into the pen holder, I hit that flashing arrow button, which loaded my paper into the Cricut, and then I hit the flashing play button, which began the writing process. Once it was done writing each one of the names, it began cutting out the individual card. Once that was finished, I hit the flashing arrow button, which released my mat, and then I hit finish on the computer. At this point, all I have to do is just peel those individual cards away from the mat, and voila, place cards. These would be perfect for any kind of dinner party. It would be great for a buffet to label everything. They would be great for signs. There's a ton of things that you could do with this. And the best part is that the handwriting is always going to be beautiful. You won't have to worry about chicken scrawl or anything else. Just pick a font and it's going to be cohesive and beautifully written. All right, it's time to find out how much I spent to create these napkins and the place card. Let's start off with the napkins. Let me tell you, this was such a score. They were only 99 cents. Can you believe that? 99 cents for this set of 8 gorgeous napkins. And then for the vinyl, we'll estimate the cost of that to be around $2 because we really didn't use that much. So for these monogrammed napkins, a set of 8, it cost me $2.99. Amazing, right? Okay, so let's move on to the place card. That only cost me the cost of cardstock. I only used like maybe half a sheet and it came in a huge package. So we're gonna say it was only 10 cents to create these. All in were $3.09 for these pieces. That is an amazing deal. They enhance my place settings dramatically and make each setting unique and special. What I love doing on my channel is showing you that you do not have to spend a ton of money to get elegant, timeless pieces. I took an old chandelier and reimagined it into a gorgeous vessel for a beautiful orchid arrangement. I took some thrifted napkins, added a monogram, and now they look like they're from Neiman Marcus. A little creativity can go a long way when it comes to home decor. I have some really fun projects coming up on my channel. You saw a little sneak peek into my dining room. I am refreshing that space. And then we are going to have the best time next week. I went on a shopping trip with my bestie, Natalie Callahan from Design to the Nines. We went to IKEA. We had a ball. And we got all kinds of things. We are going to show you what we did with our IKEA pieces. So make sure you come back next week and check that video out. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.